Okay, hi, I'm Cassidy. I do a whole host of science communication type things, but I'm also a research assistant at the Pelling Lab. So are any of you like U Ottawa students? Okay. Just like raise your hand if you're a U Ottawa student or like you're affiliated with the university in some way. Okay. So I don't know if you've ever seen, there's like a poster on campus with a guy and he's holding an ear in a dish, like a Petri dish, okay? That's my boss. Okay, so when you think about scientists, you might think of someone who's like super analytical and is like really driven about a very specific issue, a very specific disease, for example. We don't really work like that in Pelling Lab. Basically, we come up with the craziest goddamn ideas you've ever heard of in your entire life. Most of them go absolutely nowhere. But we're a curiosity-driven lab. We just ask interesting questions and we try and find interesting answers. So a couple of years ago, someone in the lab was eating an apple. And he was like, what if we grew some cells on this apple? Like total like high thoughts, I don't know. But anyway, so because we have the tools to do so, he just went ahead and started growing cells, and it turns out they actually attach pretty well. So apples, like most plants, they have a protein in them. It's called cellulose, and it's what gives it its shape, its structure. And we have some similar stuff in our bodies that give them the shape. So for example, your ear, you know how it has a very specific shape, right? There's something that does that. But there's an equivalent in plants, and that's cellulose. And so what they did is they took an apple slice and they carved it into the shape of an ear. And then they used a couple chemicals to take away the apple like DNA in the cells, and then they put human DNA and cells on and just grew in some nutrients, very like kind of basic scientific cell culture stuff. But nobody had ever thought to do something that weird before. We got a lot of flack for it. Like, we had some physics, because we're in the physics department, right? Because we're biophysics, and we had some people telling us we were gonna get defunded, and like we were nuts, and like we got like hate mail. It was unreal. But guess what? It worked. The ear grew. And the reason that this is super important, besides the fact that it's just like cool as heck, is not only is it just really neat, but one is the body doesn't reject the transplant in the same way it would with an artificial scaffold. Like if it was built 3D printed, for example, the body has a much higher chance of rejecting it than with this plant scaffold. But two, it's super cheap. It only costs a couple dollars to make this ear, whereas a 3D printed ear costs in the hundreds to make, especially when you're making it custom. And so the hope is we're kind of democratizing the idea of these transplants. And these ears, they work well. The body populates them with blood vessels. They work. And we're doing work right now on spinal cords with asparagus, actually, which is that's the next phase. But why this matters so much to me is because there are people all over the world who can't afford the hundreds of dollars it would take to custom build something like this, then get the surgery. But if it's only a couple bucks and it can be made with almost entirely supplies you can find in your kitchen, then there are people who might have the chance to do that never would. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.